Hello. Welcome back to another video. We have Star Wars Rebel Force again. I'm somewhere else recording. But let's get right into chapter 2. Luke Skywalker tightened his grip on the lightsaber. Frozen in place, he held his breath, listening. It was too dark to see, but he could sense it out there somewhere, watching him, playing with him, and at any moment, ping! Luke sprang backward. The shot screamed past, singeing his cheek. He backed up against a tree, then lashed out with a lightsaber. The blue blade whirled up and around in a smooth, glowing arc, but it sliced through empty air. Ping, ping! His heart thudding, Luke whipped the lightsaber from side to side, struggling to block the blasts. He was always an instant too late. He took a deep breath and warned himself not to panic. Use the Force, Luke. He imagined he could hear old Ben Kenobi advising him, but of course it was only his imagination. Ben was dead. Still, Luke tried to feel the Force. Ben had said it was all around him, that he needed only to reach out for it, and it would be there. Luke reached. Nothing. But then, a crackling sound off to his right, like a twig being crushed, and something else, a small click, like a weapon being cocked. Luke lunged to his right, slashing down with the lightsaber in a single fluid motion. More shots streaked past, and Luke spun around, sweeping the glowing saber from one side to the other, deflecting the spray. Grinning, Luke raised the lightsaber over his head, ready to deflect the next barrage of fire. But instead of slicing through thin air, the weapon struck something solid. There was a slow, loud crack. Luke tensed. Then, realizing what was about to happen, leaped out of the way. Too late. Again. The blow came to the back of his head. Luke dropped the lightsaber and went down, slamming hard onto the overgrown jungle weeds. A heavy weight landed on top of him, pinning him down. His fingers scraped the ground, searching for the fallen saber, but come up with nothing but dirt. A soft click as his assailant readied his weapon. No, Luke screamed. Don't! Direct hit. Ow, Luke complained. It may have just been a sting burst, but a direct hit to the shoulder still hurt. He whipped off his blindfold and glared at R2-D2, who came rolling out from behind a tree, looking as pleased with himself as an astromech droid could look. R2, that's not fair. Luke gestured at the tree branch, pinning him flat on his back. I couldn't block the shot like this, could I? You should have waited for me to get up. R2-D2 released a trill of beeps and whistles. Luke sighed. He'd spent enough time around the droid to guess what he was saying. I know, in a real fight the enemy wouldn't wait for me and be ready. Not to mention that in a real fight the enemy would be shooting a blaster rather than sting bursts, and Luke would be dead. Now that Luke could see again, he spotted his lightsaber laying in a puddle of mud. He stretched out an arm for it, but the weapon was just beyond his reach. Bring me the lightsaber, he commanded the Force, searching inside himself for the power to move objects with his mind. Lightsaber. But the lightsaber stayed where it was, and Luke stayed where he was, trapped. Come on, R2, he finally said. Help me out of here. R2-D2 beeped again, but didn't move. Luke sighed. The astromech droid may have been his most loyal companion, but he was also more than a little sensitive. Okay, I'm sorry I said you weren't playing fair, he apologized. You were just doing what I told you to do. You did a good job. The droid beeped happily and rolled toward Luke, nudging the lightsaber into his outstretched hand. Soon Luke had sliced away enough of the heavy bow to climb out from under it. He stood up and dusted himself off. All around him the lush green rustled and chirped, alive with the calls of woolamanders and whisperbirds, gacklebats, klinknicks, and many other species native to Yavin 4. Luke couldn't help but feeling like they were all laughing at him. Better them than Han, he thought, switching off his lightsaber and sliding it back into the holster hanging out of his waist. They'd been at the rebel base for almost 2 weeks now, which meant 2 weeks of fruitless lightsaber practice, and 2 weeks of being laughed at by Han Solo, who was convinced the lightsaber wasn't good for anything but slicing Sweesenberry bread. Luke knew Han meant well, and that he was probably right about the lightsaber, at least when Luke was the one wielding it. Still, Luke had decided it might be better to practice in the jungle, with no one to watch him but R2-D2 and the towering Masai trees. He'd need a lot more practice if he was ever going to be a Jedi Master like Ben Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke corrected himself. It was still hard to believe that that strange old hermit was actually the last of the great Jedi Knights, and a friend to Luke's father. I will find a way to follow in my father's footsteps, Luke promised himself, resting a hand on his lightsaber. It's my destiny. But at times like this, that seemed impossible. He felt like he would never learn to wield his lightsaber with Ben's grace and skill. And even that wasn't enough for Ben. Not in the end. Luke shook his head, trying to clear it of the images. Ben's lightsaber slashing through the air, sizzling with energy as it clashed against the red beam of Darth Vader's weapon. Ben struggling to match Vader's blow for blow, struggling and failing. Ben raising his arms in surrender, meeting Luke's eyes one last time. Vader's lightsaber slicing through Ben like he was insubstantial as air. Ben's robes falling to the ground, his body vanished, and Ben gone. And Luke, alone, again. He couldn't stop to think about all he'd lost, or he might never get started again. His comm link beeped, driving away the dark thoughts. "Where are you, kid?" Han's familiar voice asked. "Leia's been looking everywhere for you." Luke grinned, glad there was no one but R2-D2 and a few mucose salamanders around to see how pleased he was to hear that. Ever since he had rescued Leia Organa. Okay, since he and Han had rescued her from the Death Star, Luke had felt a special connection to the Alderaan princess. Unfortunately, Han seemed to feel one too. "Then why didn't she call me?" Luke asked. "Guess Her Highness has better things to do," Han joked. "Or maybe she's just afraid to get too close when you're waving around that lightsaber." Luke glared at R2-D2. "How did you know I blamed 3PO?" Han said, referring to C-3PO, the protocol droid Luke had acquired back on Tatooine along with R2-D2. Wherever one went, the other usually followed. 3PO had been more than a little upset that he hadn't been invited along on the jungle training mission. "That bucket of bolts has a bigger mouth than a whippet." "Well, tell Leia you found me and I'm fine," Luke said, annoyed. "Tell her yourself, kid," Han said. "General Dodonna's called back some kind of top priority meeting back at Base 1, and we're the guests of honor." Thousands of years earlier, the primitive tribe occupying Yavin 4 had erected several enormous temples along the jungle moon. The largest of these, the Great Temple, was a massive, terraced pyramid whose moss-spotted stone walls broke through the clouds. From the outside, it seemed as ancient as weathered as the moon itself, as if a sacred, mystical secret lay within. But the building had recently been restored and modernized, complete with turbolifts, computers, and lookout posts, as befit the nerve center of the Rebel Alliance. Luke rode the makeshift turbolift to the top floor. He couldn't believe that only a few weeks before he'd been a farm boy on Tatooine, a nobody, stranded in a nothing life. Now he was about to enter a meeting with Jan Dodonna, the leader of the Rebel Alliance military. And why not? Luke was, after all, a hero. With the help of his friends, he'd blown up the Death Star. He'd saved Yavin 4 and possibly the rebellion itself. Still, when he stepped into the conference room and saw Dodonna, Han, Leia, and a handful of top rebel leaders staring back at him, he couldn't help it. He felt like a clueless kid. General Dodonna barely waited for Luke to sit down before he began speaking. "Our spies have intercepted a coded Imperial transmission indicating the Empire has no imminent plans to attack Yavin 4. "But why?" Leia cut in. "Now that they have our location, it doesn't make sense that they wouldn't attack us." "Agreed." Dodonna ran a hand through his bushy beard. "We gave them a nasty surprise when we blew up the Death Star, but we didn't expect it to take them this long to regroup. They're planning something, but by the time they act, we'll have established a base far from here. I have ships scouring the galaxy for an appropriate location." "We'd be happy to help in any way we can, General," Leia said. Han shot a look. "We?" he mouthed. The general shook his head. "I'm afraid that's not why I've called you here. We've learned something else from the transmission. Although they're not moving in on Yavin 4, the Empire is determined to retaliate for the blow we struck against the Death Star. They're planning targeted attacks to take out our top leadership, among others. As you can imagine, there's one target that the Emperor wants most of all." As Luke waited for General Dodonna to reveal the target, he suddenly realized that everyone in the room was looking at him. "What?" "It's you, kid," Han said. Imperial enemy number 1. I'm afraid so, General Dodonna confirmed. Luke wasn't sure whether he should feel proud or terrified. According to our sources, the Empire doesn't yet have Luke's name. As of today, we're instituting several new security protocols designed to shield the identities of anyone who might be an Imperial target, the General explained. All of your roles in the destruction of the Death Star have been reclassified as top secret. Obviously, your identities are known to most of the rebels on Yavin 4, but everyone involved understands how crucial secrecy is to the rebel cause. What happens if the Empire finds out? Luke asked. Don't you mean when they find out? Han shot back. Leia stood up, smacking her hands against the conference table. Then we face them together, and we defeat them. She sounded almost eager for the chance. Luke and Han exchanged a glance. Leia was a former Imperial senator, a well-known diplomat who, in her official capacity, traveled the galaxy carrying messages of comfort and peace. But sometimes, Luke suspected that deep down, she was the most natural-born warrior of them all. Well, that leads us to Chapter 3 of Star Wars Rebel Force. I hope that you are all enjoying this so far. And again, I apologize for the location. Like I said, I'm doing some traveling right now, as with my other videos, so I'm back and forth between the house and traveling and whatnot. But I always want to upload and make sure that you guys have the content that you're looking for. So if you enjoyed, make sure you come back. Don't forget to leave a like and a comment. Again, I know this isn't a fantastic mic, but if you can bear with me for a little while, we'll get right back into the regularly scheduled, everyday quality content that I'm uploading from my normal recording area. Unfortunately, right now, you can hear a wicked AC unit going. I'm sure earlier you might have heard the dog running around. It is what it is, but like I said, no excuses. I want to make content, I wanted to upload, so I hope you all, almost knocked my hat off. I hope you all are enjoying this read through as much as I am as well. I have a great time reading this stuff, and if you guys want to recommend any books that I might go out and purchase that you would like me to start, we can do that as well. Also, I am cooking up a new video on the gaming channel if you all want to head over there. It's also going to be Star Wars related. But yeah. Like always, if you guys enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like and a comment. Don't forget to subscribe. I hope you have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening. Remember to stay hydrated, stay cool, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.